One.
Welcome to Social Justice Warrior Leadership Training Program. I'm Reagan, I'm your moderator for today. And this is Samantha Joo, our founder of Platform, and our guest speaker today is Caran. Hi.
Hi.
How are you guys today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Very good for pre-election day.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so I have a couple questions, Caran, about before we get into our topic today of redefining success. So, what is your job and what do you do?
So I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Iliff School of Theology. And that means that I kind of have my hands in a lot of different initiatives and projects. I help to make sure that whatever projects that we have moving forward, I help to facilitate it, to make sure that it's done in a timely fashion. So that's a general description.
Nice. What social justice issues do you care about? What
Oh my
impacts
goodness.
you the most?
Oh, and impacts me the most. I think I'm most concerned about children and youth, but overall, and this still relates to children and youth, I'm more concerned about people being able to be their best selves. And so in whatever way, that they see that as the possibility, whatever their passions are, I want to help them to be able to achieve those passions. And so now a lot of what I'm doing involves racial justice work. And so I am working with groups to talk with them more about race and helping them to feel more comfortable having courageous conversations about race and understanding racism, and in particular, anti-Black racism in our country.
Those are relevant to today's issues, definitely. So today we're going to be talking about redefining success. So what is your personal definition of success?
So I was raised a Christian and I still follow Christian values to the extent that stuff that Jesus said. So what I would like to do is present myself as what's called a living sacrifice, which sounds really hideous, right? Because it's like, what does that actually mean? But living sacrifice means that you're sacrificing what would be necessarily best for yourself and doing things for the greater good, for the greater community, for loving others, even if it hurts, and just stretching yourself beyond your own, what you think are your own abilities.
I'm curious.
To the extent that I can do that, then I think I'm being successful. Go, Samantha.
I'm curious. I'm actually having questions for Reagan as well as for Caran.
Mm-hmm.
What messages do you hear from society and from your family about what defines success for you? And how does that question or challenge your definition right now, Caran, that you've provided? Or does it cohere consistent with what your own definition of success is? So who
Who
wants
do
to
you want
take
to
this?
answer first?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a very interesting question. So, Reagan, why don't you start what your definition of success is, what you think society's definition of success is, as opposed to your family, and see if there are inconsistencies between them.
Okay. My personal definition is similar to Caran's in that it's kind of the state of living and working according to our values more than what other people think, and doing our activities for the greater good as well. I feel like society kind of looks at success in measured of materialism or comparing each other to success instead of helping others.
What about your family, your parents? What kind of definitions did they impose on you, you think?
I definitely feel that my parents also think that success is defined by helping others, but also I don't know the right word. I think it's a balance of both definitions, maybe.
Karen, what do you think about the definition she's provided?
I think your definitions are excellent. And I also am resonating somewhat with what you're saying, what society says and what your family may have said. So my family actually are also Christians. And so African Americans. And so part of that culture is one where you also are looking to help other people in your community to rise. But at the same time, in my community, I was going to be, in my family anyway, one of the first to go to law school, certainly. One of the first to become a lawyer, certainly. And mixed in with that, though, is, and that's where it gets confusing, is whether or not you're going to be able to buy a car, how much money you're going to make. But at the same time, you're supposed to also be able to take care of the community. So those values kind of get all mixed up in your head, like, oh my gosh, like, am I being successful if I'm not making, a gazillion dollars a year? And so as I've gotten older, I know that it's not about the money. It's really about how I feel on a daily basis with the ways in which I'm helping my community. And I know that, so there's a t-shirt now that says, I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams. And so I really am at this point, but it's not because of the financial side of things. It's because of the ways in which I'm looking to help other people.
You guys are such noble people, because I find your definition of success is of it's well-developed definition of success. But how do you combat this message that keeps on saying, until you make a certain amount of money, 70, 80,000 plus a given year, that you have a certain title, that you live in certain types of house, certain types of car, drive a certain car, you have a certain type of partner. If you do not have these very things, then you do kind of feel like a loser, a failure.
Not unless you know that there are people that have all of those things and they're very unhappy people. They're very depressed people. Not all, but some. So it isn't, so clearly the magic is not in the amount of money. The magic is not in whether or not you're in a house. The magic is not in the type of car you drive. The magic is in you centering yourself and knowing that you're doing the you're calling it the noble thing, but something that's consistent with what you believe in.
So if I'm consistently believing the money is my happiness, then basically you're saying I'm successful if that is my value.
If that's your value and if that's how you define it. I mean, I could challenge that, but I wouldn't challenge that with somebody. If they tell me that and they tell me that they're happy, then I'm going to believe them and take them at face value.
So ultimately, you believe happiness is the definition of success, and what you believe that happiness is personal.
Yeah.
I'm going to stretch that a little bit.
Go for it.
I'm going to challenge you. Culturally, I grew up as Korean, that success is bringing honor to the family. Meaning you have a job that's reputable, makes good enough money to make your family look good. Or you find that partner that makes you stand out. You marry that doctor, that lawyer who drives a BMW. Of course, it's going to make you bring honor to the family. So the idea is collectivism. What you do good for the community, or for immigrant families, for that family. And I grew up on culturally, in terms of America, success being defined as what makes you happy. And however you define that as being happy. So usually in the American context, what Reagan was talking about is connected to materialism. And so meaning is dependent upon what you own, how much you possess. And so I've been sort of in tension between these two models. Following
and
I would bliss.
I would say that I'm also in that same tension. So I don't come from an Asian family, but I come from an African American family, and it's somewhat the same. So yes, part of me being a lawyer was also people in my African-American church congregation saying, oh, you're going to be a lawyer someday. You're going to be a judge. You're going to be the first woman president, right? So all of that is my community saying, you go, you go. But at the same time, there's a lot of pressure there, because what if I decide at some point, you know what, I actually don't really want to be a lawyer. I actually see politics as being kind of dirty and filthy. So I don't want to go in the political realm. And so at that point, you have to decide what is also good for your community, regardless of whether or not they have their own set of what the values are that represent the community, and what you see as something that's still contributing to the community, but not necessarily in the way that they would have imagined. And to me, that's success.
Oh, I hate you for that.
She's so brutal. Reagan, she's so brutal.
No, Reagan, did you get what Caran was saying in terms of, no, this is what I've been battling with all my life, this tension between this collectivism and this notion of self-interest. And this is the question of, how do you define success that allows you to be the best of who you are, but honoring the very community you come from? And sometimes it's not that easy because they're not always in line with each other, aligned. They're actually conflict with each other. And at that point, what do you do? If by very definition in you following your bliss or your passions, what you can contribute, but the people, society, your family consider that to be not community honoring, not family honoring, but actually dishonoring. And so that's where I don't know how to relieve that tension and what is the better path.
Are you asking
Any thoughts?
Me?
Huh? I don't know. Reagan and you both, Caran. And what do you do with that tension, Reagan? Go ahead, Caran.
No, I was going to say, part of what I do with that tension is I meditate and I pray. And no, honestly, and that sounds like too simplistic, but part of it is helping your community to get in line with what you now see that is different than what they saw. You know, because we all are raised in different time periods. We all have different struggles. And, you know, looking at some of the illegal activities that are happening with people who are famous these days, I'm pretty certain that my parents are proud that that's not something that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So yes, there are people who are lawyers, who are politicians, and they're bringing shame, right? If you're talking about shaming the family, that would be putting shame on my family if I'm engaged in illegal activities. I'm doing the right things, and I feel like I'm doing it for the right reasons. I'm not doing it for a title. I'm not doing it for a position. I'm doing it because I feel centered in doing what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for people and to help people to be their best.
Reagan, any thoughts in which you would disagree with Caran?
Oh no, I think we lost your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You're back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think if you want to do something that is different than what your family or community saw you doing, and it's conflicting, I think in a way that can also help you strive to obtain your goals and to reach farther. And you have to have a certain amount of passion for what you're doing. And if you have that confidence, it will help others around you see that you're making the right choices, and they will learn to or accept what you're doing.
I said disagree with Caran, not agree with.
Hey, she put a different spin on it. I liked her spin better.
I'm curious now. One of the things I was thinking about as I was preparing for today's discussion was this: collectivism, in which you think about the group over your own needs, as opposed to common good. And I was thinking, is there a difference And if so, what is it? Or are they the same? When I look for the common good, am I only looking for the benefit that would benefit the majority? Is that what it means?
That's a great question. Because common good can mean a lot of different things at a lot of different times, right? So sometimes it's going to mean the majority. Sometimes it's going to mean a certain community of people. Sometimes it's going to mean those who are most in need, right? So ask a rich person, ask the 1%, whether or not having, healthcare, universal healthcare, or having increased taxes for the 1% is good for the common good, right? You'll get different responses because it depends on what your perception is of the common good. If you're looking at the long-term health of the United States, right, there can be an argument that yes, taxing the rich is for the common good.
How do you reconcile though? I mean, this is what I was talking about in terms of the collective, thinking about the collective and thinking about what's good for you. And then common good is somewhere in between, I believe. How are
you defining the collective?
Huh?
Say more about how you're defining the collective versus the common good.
The group that you're part of. And I feel common good is sort of a little bit more objective. It's not just about the group, but the larger community that you're part of. So, and this is baffling to me because I believe humans are selfish in nature. And so therefore they're invested in their self-interest. But the thing is, how can humans widen their self-interest to take other people into consideration? And that's where I think the common good is, the pursuit of common good. And so the question now is this: how does one broaden this definition of self-interest so that we see ourselves that in pursuing common good, we're actually benefiting ourselves? And I don't know how to change the language. What do I mean by that? If I am concerned about the environment, ultimately it will benefit me. Why? Because the resources, I'm protecting it, not so that I can also drink water, give food, and so on, but I'm also thinking about the future generation in terms of my nieces and nephews. And to be honest, it's in my self-interest that they do well. So the thing is, how do we change it so it's not like I want to make sure that I eat and I am well dressed, but not be considered thoughtful of what the future generation or even people next to me that they also give. So how do we change that so that my self-interest is invested in your interest as well? And I don't know how we can do that because ultimately, since humans, I think, are selfish, we have to be able to include me into the equation to be part of that movement. Any thoughts about that?
I think it's a cultural shift, and I think it's already been happening. And I especially see that in our young people, that they're demanding, that yes, we save the environment for the good of the whole, because they know that it's the entire earth that will suffer if we don't work on the environment. So I think it's, having conversations like this, having conversations, with people nearby within your family. It's a cultural shift in terms of retraining and empathy. And I think it happens from the beginning, with our children and our youth and adults actually being representative of what that looks like. And also knowing that when you share, like somehow miraculously, there's always enough. There's always more that
I don't know, if I share my tiramisu, I don't know if I will have enough for everyone.
You will. See, you probably don't need a full tiramisu, Sam. You should have you made sure that we had some today.
Well,
You'd be like, wow, I didn't need a whole tiramisu anyway.
Well, I don't know. I can eat a whole tiramisu if necessary. Reagan, do you agree with Karen in that do you find the youth to be more aware of our need to think about the larger community, the common good, as opposed to just thinking about me and myself?
Yes and no.
Elaborate for me.
My answer is yes and no because I think it depends on the people they're surrounded with and where they're growing up as well.
Can you give me a specific example what you mean by the groups they're around with and where they grow up? Because I want to come to that. I think it's very important observation.
For the people who you surround yourself with, for the example of who your friends are, if they motivate you to strive for a better you and better goals to help others, then that's what's going to happen. But if you have friends that you're not really friends with, you're just acquaintances, they're not going to help you obtain those goals, if that makes sense.
No, it does definitely make sense. But is there specific spaces in which one is encouraged to do one or the other?
Yes, I think so.
Give me an example.
I'm not sure.
Okay. The reason why I say this is because some of the students I worked with in the past, and I talk with them, they're so convinced that the end of the world is coming in like 2-3 years. They see no point in changing anything. They just want to almost despair. They don't even want to survive. They're sort of surrendering to what's going on in the world and saying, oh, the world is going to burn. The climate is going to not improve. Our older generation, their leaders are useless. And so they get to this point of just, what's the point? And it's very discouraging to hear them, because if they, at that age, 14 and 15, don't have hope at that age, then what are the chances that we, the older generation who have screwed up, that we can depend, how do you start the talk to change, to transform, if they've already given up at that age?
You have to keep doing baby steps. Yeah. So just smaller projects along the way that help to bring back that hope. So it's just, allowing them to experience hopeful situations also generates confidence in themselves, to know that they can make changes, and that, and agreeing with them. Yeah, we've screwed things up. We haven't really set things in a great place for them to begin. So identifying that, affirming that understanding and that feeling, and then saying, okay, but let's see what we can do, even the small things. What's the small thing that we can do to make a difference today?
And so this is the other part of success, is that we have not set youth up for success. We have set them up to fail, in that there's a lot of discouraging news out there, and it seems overwhelming. And so whatever you do, like you're talking about, Caran, it's like the small step, the small projects to help them see that they can succeed, that they can make change, that there's room to transform. But it's not easy, because it's, for them, success is not possible.
But that's where it gets down to redefining success. It really does. And so you have to, again, and back to baby steps, right? So what looks successful? What does success look like for you today? Like if it's even just one small project. And so you build upon that over time. And then it also takes your focus off of the news, right? So yeah, the world looks nutty right now. It does. But there are other places where the world looks less so. And so you have to try to focus on those spaces where good is happening. There are many places where good is still taking place in a lot of ways.
And so you're saying if we help young people redefine what success is, then they're setting themselves up to succeed and not be in despair.
But also we have to incorporate failure in that, right? And how failure also helps to strengthen you in success. It does. So if you never fail at doing anything, then you're just gonna, I think that's not even human, right? There's got to be some failure along the way, because if you fail, then you're like, okay, whoops, made a mistake. I know what I did wrong this time. I can make an adjustment and do something a little bit differently. It's a tweak that you make throughout life.
Which requires resilience to be able to get up the next day and say, you know what, I'm going to take another stab at it.
But the only way that you get resilience is by getting up. So you gotta get back up. You gotta, but that's where, you know, and Reagan, I loved what you said. That's where your true friends come in to help you to get up, right? They're not going to ignore you when you're so distraught and thinking everything is horrible, because your true friends want you to survive, and your true friends want you to be successful, and your true friends see who you really are. They know what you think about. They know what your passions are, and they know what you really want to do, and they believe in you. And that's a whole different, you know, Reagan gave us a different kind of community, right? So part of a community is a community of true friends. And then there's the community of your family. And then there's also, you know, if you do church or if you have a faith-based situation, your faith-based community is a whole different kind of community. So it's a combination of communities that help us to be successful at points in our lives.
I was afraid of you having all these positive.
What, you wanted me to be like, yeah, so you want to be like, oh my gosh, it's the day before the election. There's no hope. You know, I don't think that's what you want. And I don't think it's helpful, right? You know, so there's the song, I Need You to Survive. I really do need people to survive.
I need to survive. And to survive. I want them to thrive.
Right, I said survive and thrive. But yes, at some points when someone is saying they don't want to go on, like the ones that you just described, that there's no hope, that the world's all gone to pieces, right? At that point, yeah, the baby step there is, I need you to survive. I need you to breathe another breath. I need you to have some hope that tomorrow isn't going to look like today. It's going to look better. Or the next few seconds aren't going to look like the last few seconds. Please keep going. I need you to survive.
One final question for both of you, actually. And I apologize, Reagan. I'm asking all the questions because Caran always amazes me. What is the one hope that, one definition, one success that you will have today? Just because you're talking and breaking it down, you got to have that one ladder, that one rung in a given day. What would that be for you today? November 2nd, Monday, 2020. Reagan?
I think
what
today, my one success would be working out the final details of my Gold Award proposal after this is my third try, and so I'm finally being able to work at it, and then I get to share that tonight and see what everyone's thoughts on it.
Oh, damn, man. Gosh, you guys are all smarter than I am.
That's huge.
That's amazing. Caran, I don't know if you can match that.
No, I absolutely cannot match that. So my one success for today is I am teaching a community of white people about white supremacist body culture. And so my success will be if they come back for another session after we have tonight's session.
Oh, Karen, whose community? Which community is that for?
It's a church community in Highlands Ranch.
Oh, okay, excellent. My one success is I'm going to write a grant proposal for the umpteenth time, in which I've been rejected all these years. And so hopefully this one will come through and will allow me to develop this youth platform program. So, but given my past failures, I got up this morning and I'm going to do it yet again and we shall see what happens.
So the success is that you're doing the proposal again. That's success. That is a success, even before they respond to your proposal.
No, Karen.
That's huge.
It's only a success if they give me the money.
The money is coming.
Only if I have that money will I be a success,
coming.
Okay?
It's coming.
Okay. Thank you both. Any final thoughts or comments?
Just thank you for this opportunity. And Reagan, I'm excited about what you're getting ready to do. So good luck.
Thanks.
Reagan, any final thoughts?
Yeah. To be successful, we need to redefine success and failure and have hope that our challenges won't define us.
Well, geez,
wow,
I should just bow out and have you guys take over the conversation because I'm not feeling too successful lately. So thank you both. I appreciate all your time and your energy.
Thank
and
you
of
for
course,
the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.